What's going on, y'all?
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Facemask Fantasy, Week 15, Tuesday Waiver Wire edition, and of course, any specific questions you guys have, because it is the fantasy playoffs officially for everybody. I know some leagues, we talked about this last week, some leagues started their playoffs Week 14. Everyone's in the playoffs now, or at least everyone's in their playoff weeks now. So whatever's on the table today, obviously waivers can be important today, but anything that's on the table as far as what your situation is as it pertains to your potential playoff matchups, we'll go through whatever we got to go through. Little caveat, John, appreciate you joining us, but unfortunately he's toughing it out because he's sick with COVID at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna be doing a whole lot of talking on this stream.
But he's here for more. He's here for moral support. Thank you for hanging out, for chilling despite not feeling well. So might be a little touch and go as far as his availability. But he is here to hang. He is here to if you're feeling up to providing any insight on whatever the topic of conversation is, you already know. But yeah, we'll hold it down for you as you hopefully make a little speedy recovery here.
Word. Appreciate it, y'all. Yeah, man. Honestly, I didn't watch a whole lot of the football over the last few days just because I was on a trip. But
you were visiting family, and I guess this is kind of how it happened. But not to diminish the hanging out with family and spending time with them ahead of the holidays. Another week riddled with injuries. So once again, the waiver wire is going to be important as we enter the fantasy playoffs. The most recent and biggest news from Monday night is that Kyler Murray suffered a torn ACL. His season is over. His availability for Week 1, 2023 is going to be in question for probably much of the offseason. But that's a topic for another day. Obviously, we just hope he can make a full recovery as soon as possible.
Yep.
James Conner and DeAndre Hopkins should be fine. Colt McCoy is a backup quarterback, but he's a veteran, right? Nothing at this point is going to phase him or anything like that. So Conner and Hopkins will be fine, but they are going to take you probably have to downgrade both a little bit. Ramondre Stevenson in the same game exited early with an ankle injury, left the game, tried to come back into the game. This is all in the first half. It was still bothering him. He had to go early into the locker room before halftime and was not able to give it a go. So we'll see what his availability is. Kevin Harris in his place scored 2 touchdowns. Looked good running the ball, physical runner. I got to imagine is the top waiver ad this week in a lot of leagues that are, in most competitive leagues where it's probably thin as it pertains to running back availability. Kevin Harris is going to be a top ad. And again, the same mantra exists for some of the high-end waiver pickups over the past couple of weeks. If you have FOB remaining and you are in a playoff matchup this week, and a guy like Kevin Harris is a potential guy that you could fire up into your lineup because of injuries or whatever, or just a running back getting an opportunity potentially, yeah, like spend all your fob. I don't know if we have an update about Ramondre Stevenson as far as the
I didn't
severity.
See one, but
all right, I'm looking right now.
Strong also had a pretty decent outing on a handful of touches. He got a touchdown.
Yeah, he got some
70 yards.
Yeah, he had a decent opportunity. Ramondre, there is no, from what I can tell, no update. So,
and Damian Harris could be coming back as well. So muddies the waters a little bit. We got to get news on him.
Let me see about Damian Harris. Okay, I mean, could be this week. We'll see for the Patriots. So that happened. Deebo Samuel is going to miss some time due to an ankle injury. It originally looked like an ugly knee injury. It was then confirmed that it was in fact an ankle injury. I don't know if high ankle sprain was confirmed, but it sounds like that's what the team was bracing for as far as news. And then Kyle Shanahan a short while ago said that Deebo's expected to miss about 3 weeks. So the earliest he's coming back is maybe week 18. I would think week 17, based on that timeline, is probably out of the picture at this point. So unless you play week 18 championship week, which we're always going to advocate that you don't, it's possible Deebo is done for the rest of the fantasy season. So that's a backbreaking blow for anybody who had Deebo, who was getting good usage and playing well in that game against the Bucs leading up to it. Variety of other injuries. We could probably go on and on about this. Kenneth Walker could potentially return this week. It is the short week against the San Francisco 49ers. TBD there. We'll see how he progresses, although he was reportedly limited at practice today, according to the walkthrough report that the Seahawks put out.
Dameon Pierce.
Pierce is going to be out for week 15. Yep, that's already been determined. We're not swerving to Eno Benjamin or Rex Burkhead here. I don't think that's just
Benjamin got released outright.
Oh, from the Texans?
Yeah,
I must have missed that one. So it's Rex Burkhead and
that's it.
I don't even know who else. Well, I guess that maybe potentially makes
Royce
it viable.
Freeman, I think, is still on the
Is
team.
Royce Freeman still there? Well, it is a matchup against Kansas City for whatever it's worth. So maybe Burkhead is worth a couple $5. Who knows? But yes, Dameon Pierce will miss time. There are Saquon Barkley didn't have a great game, but apparently he got through it unscathed. But he was on the injury report coming into the game. So figured just call that out as well. So a variety of different talking points, a variety of different things that we can all discuss, of course. Brock Purdy expected to give it a go in a short week. Mike White re-entered the game. There's a lot of different things that we could talk about.
Tyreek Hill is a big one. Just the last one and throw in there.
Tyreek Hill, apparently it was referred to as bumps and bruises or something along those lines. Obviously, we saw coming out of the half, or was it coming out of the half or going into the half? Coming out of the half, that Tyreek's ankle was heavily wrapped in ice on the sideline, but he didn't miss any time and played through it. He was seen walking with like a slight limp after the game, or at least that's what the cameras appeared to capture. Walking up the tunnel back to the locker room, he did appear to be walking with a but I've not seen anything additional as far as anything too concerning here. Mike McDaniel, again, already said that it's more along the lines of bumps and bruises, and there already seems to be optimism that he's going to be fine. Despite that, it is a short week, though. The Dolphins are a part of one of three matchups this Saturday. There's 3 Saturday games. So that'll, of course, will also impact the time that we usually do our Saturday live streams as well. So stay tuned there. We'll sort something out as far as a plan, and we'll make sure to post on the community tab once we know definitively what we're doing, and whether it's Friday night or early Saturday morning. We will adjust our stream time that we usually have on Saturdays this weekend to allow.
Cool
so you guys can watch the plays
Saturday morning, just so that we can get a stream in before the games.
Yeah, that would probably make the most sense.
Yeah.
But TBD there. So, but we'll confirm all of that. I've talked a lot. I know you're kind of like, you're hurting a little bit over there. So why don't we go ahead and dive into this chat, because there are some questions and comments piling up. So let's make sure we start addressing the people. George, Danzel, Xavier, Iron, good to see everybody. Appreciate you guys coming in. Hopefully we got those wins. Let's figure things out for the playoffs, shall we?
Everybody's in the playoffs that's in here.
Yup. Yes, sir. So let's get into it. George, I agree. You probably can't play Walker this week. It's like it doesn't feel great. It depends on your other options, though, I guess. Pierce is out. That was the other thing. T. Higgins was removed from the injury report going into the game, and then the Bengals kind of messed around, and that was ultimately a smokescreen, and they held T. Higgins out for the entire game. I personally think they should be fined for that, or punished in some way. That is a Bush League move by the Cincinnati Bengals, and Zach Taylor. That's crap.
And then Tyler Boyd got hurt. So
Tyler Boyd got hurt during the game. That was, that's one unfortunate development, but yeah, the T. Higgins thing was ludicrous to me. That was blasphemy by the Bengals. That's Bush League. Fans deserve to know like what's going on. The investment and the money that's at stake as far as interest in not just the Bengals but the NFL in general. Like, come on, that's garbage. So yeah, we can't trust them. Although again, with players of T. Higgins caliber, we unfortunately have no choice. If they're not on the injury report, we have to fire these types of guys up into our lineups. So if you have T. Higgins, yeah, if he's on the injury report all this week again with the hamstring injury, sure, bench him, fine. I can't fault anybody after this past development. But if he's off the injury report and practicing again, which is all we can go off of are the reports that come in from RotoWire and Twitter and whatever other outlets and wires we have and news information outlets we have. We can only go off of these reports. So let's take that one day by day. But yeah, frustrating about the Bengals. Are you playing Evans, Jamal Williams, and Darius Slayton? So Evans has had a rough, I feel like, stretch recently where there just hasn't been that much in the production department, but he had a 68-yard touchdown, unfortunately called back because Donovan Smith has never met a holding penalty that he didn't like. So yeah, that's an unfortunate, annoying development, but the play was right there. The play was there. So you have to continue to feel fine firing up Mike Evans, and at home in a matchup against the Bengals, who just got done talking about, Mike Evans is a guy you can put into your lineup. You can do that with one more week with full confidence, and you kind of have to. As far as Jamal Williams, it was a quiet day from Jamal Williams in what looked to be a smash spot for him. Just let me pull up what happened here. Against the Vikings at home, he had 16 carries. The volume was there. 37 rushing yards. The results were not. He did not catch his only target. So 17 opportunities if you count the target, and under 40 yards rushing. That is a bit of an anomaly. However, on the road against the Jets, that's a pretty damn difficult assignment to trust him in after this past week, and also basically getting usurped for DeAndre Swift 2 weeks ago. So now we're 2 weeks running where the vibes are kind of meh on Jamal Williams after how good they were for most of the season. So yeah, I understand having concern there. I wouldn't feel great about it myself. But it's like, what other options do you have? If Pierce is out, Walker might be back on a short week. And I mean, I guess, are they at home, Seattle? Where is that game?
I'm not sure. Let me look.
I mean, anymore. The Seahawks are at home, so at least there's that. So maybe you feel a little bit better about Walker. Let's see if we get any type of really good vibes on Walker, George, like tomorrow, maybe removed from the injury report. Like, we've seen crazier things happen. If that's not the case, if he draws a questionable tag going into Thursday Night Football, probably a safe bet to just kind of, you're going to have to just roll the dice on Jamal Williams and hope for the best. But let's see. As far as Slayton, the Giants got, the Eagles mopped the floor with them. Let's just call a spade a spade. So, but he still had 2 catches for 42 yards. Yeah, that's not great, but like in a day where the entire offense was not able to get anything going, I think you can fire him up as a wide receiver 3. Yeah, that's as difficult a matchup as he's going to see all year going against the Eagles. I mean, the previous 4 games, he's gone over 60 yards receiving in all 4. 2 and 3 of them, he was over 80 yards receiving, and 2 of those games he went 90 plus. So, I mean, the recent results for Darius Slay are fine. Yeah, he had 40 yards receiving on 2 catches on Sunday. The Giants were overmatched in every facet of the game. That's just the Eagles being really good. He'll bounce back in a game that the Giants are much more likely to contend in against Washington. So yeah, you can fire him up. You can feel fine about him. But if T. Higgins is in, and again, we'll pay attention to those developments, the practice reports and everything, you got to play T. Higgins. As far as starting the Carolina defense against Mitchell Trubisky, I mean, you could. Where is that? Is that in Carolina? Sure, you could. You can. The Panthers are like, they're not great, but their season is not dead because the NFC South sucks. So they're still playing for something. Pittsburgh's I don't think Pittsburgh is at this point. So sure, play them against Mitchell Trubisky. Trubisky stinks. That's fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I would do that too.
John, was that?
I would do that too.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, if you have anything to add, knock yourself out, go for it. But otherwise, I know you're just kind of, you're holding it down over there, so I can just keep it moving.
Yes, sir.
Denzel, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Xavier got the 1 seed. There you go, man. There you go. Now you can kind of, pour yourself a cocktail tonight. You can just chill. I like that feeling. It's a nice feeling where you don't got to worry about this week. The real work starts next week. So as far as Denzel, your starting options, 2 backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. I mean, you know about McCaffrey, and I would say you know about Aaron Jones. Like, those are your running backs. And then I would start the first 3 receivers as your two receivers and a flex. DeAndre Swift on the road against the Jets. I don't feel very good about that. He didn't do
seeing Aaron Jones and then do those first 3 wide receivers.
Yeah, just do the first 3 wide receivers. Like, I know Zay Jones is doing well right now, but those are names where you can't play him over those 3. And I'll say the same about Swift, about not just those 3 receivers, but obviously the first 2 running backs. That allows you to kind of sit and wait a week on Walker and see how he does on a short week if he plays. So, yep, McCaffrey, Jones, Hopkins, Williams, Pittman. Is Pierre Strong on New England worth an ad? We got to keep an eye on practice reports, I guess, but I think I would
Gus Edwards.
I would rather have Edwards. I mean, he had another like 15 or 16 opportunities this week, even in Dobbins' return, 13. So, all right, I was off. But again, he did his thing. 13 carries for 66 yards. That is the most Gus Edwards line ever. Like, effective, efficient. He's hit or miss to score a touchdown, but you can rely on him for like, it's not great. Obviously, that just translates to 6.6 fantasy points in most standard leagues, but you could do worse than a running back stash there. And they play Cleveland this week. Cleveland's run defense will not stop anybody. So Dobbins is actually in a good, Dobbins is in a good spot this week too, but Gus Edwards is in a good spot. The Patriots play, I think the Patriots play the the Raiders this week, actually. So that would be a good spot for Pierre Strong as well. But Damian Harris was apparently, he wasn't totally ruled out on Monday Night Football early in the week. So that leads, it's possible Damian Harris is back sooner than expected. And then that could, it could be a Damian Harris, Kevin Harris, Pierre Strong, weird three-headed committee that is impossible to trust until we get practice reports. So I'd rather have Gus.
Yeah, I would too.
So there you go. Let's see. Iron, your running backs are Chubb, Pollard, Najee, Pierce, Jamal, and Hunt. Do you drop Hunt to pick up Kevin Harris? Pierre Strong or McKinnon? You can drop Hunt for McKinnon.
Not any of the other two.
You can drop Hunt for McKinnon though. Like to Kareem Hunt's credit, there's not much credit here, but he's alternated like average usable weeks the past few weeks. Last week was a dud, and he's had one too many duds this year. Kareem Hunt has, but at least he has Watson back. The past few weeks, this past week against Cincinnati, bottomed out. But week 13, that was against Houston in a smash spot. 9 for 56, 2 for 18. Not terrible. Against Tampa Bay, he crapped out. Against Buffalo, 5 for 32, 2 for 22. Not spectacular, but cleared 50 yards, total yards from scrimmage. It's not great. Yeah. I guess at this point, there's not a ton of. The only thing that you're holding Hunt for is a potential Nick Chubb injury. Which I guess since you have Nick Chubb, maybe that makes Hunt a little more valuable. Can you put Pierce on IR since he's out for a couple games and then just add McKinnon for free? Depends on your league roster settings, but if you can do that, if you can IR Pierce.
I honestly think I would just stick with Hunt, knowing that he is a direct backup to your RB1.
And you have Chubb.
You have Pollard, and you have Najee. So it doesn't really matter that Pierce is out. And you have Jamal. So I want to hold on to the one-for-one handcuff.
Sure, that makes the most sense. If you didn't have Chubb, then Hunt would be an easier drop. But because you have Chubb, I think I ultimately would just stick with Hunt.
If something happened to Isaiah Pacheco, CEH would probably come back into the fold. It wouldn't just be McKinnon's job. And with Hunt, if something happened with Chubb, Hunt would just be the guy. So I would just rather have Hunt.
Yeah, he's literally he is your emergency plan. But it is a direct line to your RB1. So yeah, you might as well just stick with Hunt. He's more valuable to you. Yeah. What's happening, Greg? Good to see you, man.
It's good.
With Lamar likely still out, you have Carr, who you now hate. I understand, man. Anytime a quarterback bottoms out like that in your starting lineup, it's just fuck this dude, right? I mean, to be fair, that was an atrocious coaching job by Josh McDaniels on Thursday night. That was abysmal. It was malpractice to give Josh Jacobs 25 carries on a short week right after he appeared to have potentially torn a ligament or broken in his finger or broken his finger. When you could easily just chuck the ball to Devontae Adams 15 times and double your score, because throwing the ball, we all know this, throwing the ball is just more efficient than running the ball. But Josh McDaniels is a boob who is, deserves to be fired 2 weeks ago. So yeah, Carr still stinks, or he's too up and he does all right. I won't be that rude, but he's too up and down. He's very inconsistent. He might fire for you, but he might crater out for you. There's too many. The spectrum is too wide with Derek Carr, so I understand. Anyway, diatribe over. Purdy, Daniel Jones, Tannehill, or Rodgers. If Treylon Burks is back, I might roll the dice on Tannehill. I'm actually not sure who the Titans are playing, but the Chargers, yeah, Tannehill's kind of enticing. I would probably say, I would tentatively say Tannehill, Greg, because if Treylon Burks is able to come back, most concussions are a 1 week absence. If Burks is able to return this week, he got his tight ends involved. Westbrook Akine got involved. Like, Tannehill is good enough to come through, and it's in LA. There's not going to be any weather concerns. So probably Tannehill would be my replacement of this group.
I don't hate Aaron Rodgers either.
Yeah, I guess I don't hate Aaron Rodgers against the Rams.
Since Christian Watson's been firing.
Christian Watson. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go old reliable, you could go Aaron Rodgers. And it is against a Rams team they're looking forward to 2023, even though they got the win on Thursday night. Well, either one of those two should be fine. I wouldn't play Huntley. Let's have him bounce back before we fire up Huntley. And Mike White's intriguing at home against the Lions, but yeah, Mike White's intriguing against the Lions at home.
No, I think the Lions are giving up the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks, 24 on
average. Yeah, but they're giving running backs problems. So could be a good day for Mike White, actually. Drew B, what's going on, Drew? Knox or Okonkwo? The Bills this week get it's the Dolphins, right? At home, that's a great matchup for Knox, who obviously came through with a score this past week. Okonkwo for against the Chargers. I would probably actually slightly lean Knox here just because Treylon Burks is coming back. Now that doesn't mean Chig can't have a good game. He's been producing for them recently for the Titans. He had his best game by far without Treylon Burks this past Sunday. But his ceiling is going to be capped with Burks back. And we saw Knox with a healthy full complement of Bills receivers and weapons. We saw Knox be the one to come through with a score, and it's a good matchup. I think I would lean Knox. It's a great matchup by the numbers.
I do like Okonkwo though.
I like him too. But I guess I like him too. But I mean, we have no choice. We have to slightly bring him down to earth a little bit with assuming Treylon Burks is coming back this week.
I would say if you're playing in a tight end premium league, I'd be fine going with Okonkwo because I think he gets more receptions than Knox. I think Knox is just a better bet for the touchdown.
Yeah. True. TE premium scoring could possibly influence that. What's going on, E11? Good to see you. And Jason, you as well. What's happening? Yeah. How about Dalvin Cook? I would have expected at this point he would have missed time because one, it's unfortunately been a trend in his career for him to miss at least a couple of games. And he separated his shoulder early in the season, which was something that I was, put on about by an injury analyst on Twitter in the offseason. So there was I had a little bit of pause about Dalvin Cook because of the potential re-aggravation and re-injury percentages that come with a shoulder dislocation. Then he dislocated it. It was early, week 2, 3, 4. It was early. And since then has played in every game. And it wasn't a great game statistically for him last week, but he still scored a touchdown. And it's not been a traditional Dalvin Cook year as far as week to week explosiveness, but he's been available and he has delivered some his fair share of RB1 weeks this week. I got to give him his flowers. I'm happy for him. You never want guys to get hurt. I was worried that he was a higher risk for injury, and therefore I was worried about him. But he has made it through. Here we are, week 15. Dalvin Cook has suited up for every game. If you have him and Madison, you know what to do. Continue to hold. But if you don't have Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison has been a bench clogger. for the entire season. Do I think Cook will make it? I mean, at this point, Dalvin Cook is still it's not a week-to-week thing or even a day-by-day thing. For Dalvin Cook, it is a play-by-play basis. So will he make it? I mean, I hate to cop out, but we all know it could be any given play for any one player, right? So we have no choice but to operate like he's going to make it because he's played every game this year. But the trend is that Dalvin Cook misses games, at least 2 to 3 a year. So if you need the roster spot and you don't have Dalvin Cook, then sure, drop Madison, because there's a really good chance that you could get him back later, as long, unless the person who has Dalvin Cook scoops him up. If you have Dalvin Cook, though, you continue to hold. It's crazy about Dalvin Cook, though. It's nuts. Where are we at? E11, you're okay. 4 or 5 leagues made the playoffs. Nicely done.
Congrats, man.
That's a great ratio. Unfortunately, Stevenson kept you from making it perfect. Hey, man. Last night was rough. Last night sucked. Last night went from like, oh, this could be a decent game, like going into, I don't even want to watch this anymore. Like Kyler hurt, third play of the game. Ramondre out early. James Conner went down. I think in the first half, he was fine, but he went down. Devontae Parker suffered a concussion, or was that confirmed? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was confirmed. Suffered a concussion. Rough night for injuries. I watched Monday Night Football because it's football, but that sucked, and for it to cost you a playoff spot, yeah, that's just, it's unfortunate, man. But hey, 4 out of 5. There are still rings to be won. You have Freiermuth, Goddard, Waller, Ingram, and Dulcich available. You have Stevenson, and you're looking to add Strong. So Freiermuth caught a touchdown, and I would think retain some viability for this week. Pittsburgh plays. They're on the road in Carolina.
I think I want Goddard rest of season out of all those options.
I want Goddard. I absolutely want Goddard, but he's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna play.
So who else can you drop?
This week. So yeah, you can't. You're not gonna be able to rely on Goddard. You're not dropping Stevenson just because he got hurt.
No.
Unless they announce he's out for like 4 weeks, then you can drop Stevenson. But yeah, it's like who's at the end of your bench? E11. Like who's the whole bench? Who are the options to drop to attack the waiver wire? Let me know. What's going on, Jay? Murray, Walker, B-Rob, or McKinnon in PPR. So Mike Boone went on IR. I know Murray had a terrible game. I was telling people to fire him up in a matchup against Kansas City where he should be fine. He gets the now Kyler Murray-less Cardinals at home. I mean, I think with Mike Boone on IR, and it's just Marlon Mack behind Latavius Murray in a matchup where they shouldn't get. They're way less likely for this game to get away from them. The Chiefs are a different beast than most teams. I would probably go Latavius Murray here. Actually, I've just realized you have Brian Robinson. The Giants just gave up another 200 rushing yards to the Eagles. They're getting gashed on the ground. Brian Robinson is also in play here.
I think I'll go Brian Robinson if I'm trying to shoot for any kind of upside.
Yeah, Brian Robinson might provide a little bit more upside.
I feel like Murray's going to give you a 10-point day.
Murray will give you the boring play. Maybe 80 yards rushing, maybe 50 and a score. Something like that. but yeah, he doesn't have much of a ceiling in a average offense or below average. Robinson has a really good matchup. Yeah, I would probably lean Brian Robinson. Obviously, with all start-sit questions, they might be a little easier to answer later in the week once practice reports roll out. Once we know, once we've set the dust has settled a little bit on each matchup coming into the week, and we know the status of different players. So the start questions are going to be a little, again, easier to answer this weekend. If you guys aren't available this weekend, we can talk through it now. You can also join our Discord. I think it's the third link in the description of this video.
Second.
If you want it. Oh, it is the second now. Second link in the description of the video. You can join that. You can post your start-sit questions there later in the week as well. Good opportunity to keep the conversation going. But tentatively, Brian Robinson might be the most interesting guy there. What's going on, Joe? One wide receiver between Pickens and Peoples-Jones.
Peoples-Jones.
What did he do this week?
He had 12 targets, 8 receptions over 100 yards. He was the wide receiver 13.
And coming against the Baltimore, 8 for 114. Yeah, I mean, with Deshaun Watson back, Deshaun seems to like throwing him the football. Yeah. Peoples-Jones. Who were the Steelers get Carolina on the road, so Pickens is going to see not a difficult matchup. Pickens is the more
talented wide receiver, but over the last 2 games, 2 and 3 targets. It's not going to get it done.
He caught all 3 of them for 78 yards, but yeah, he had to come through on some crazy good efficiency. And Mitchell Trubisky seems to have, slightly more interest throwing the ball to Deontay Johnson than George Pickens. George Pickens is, you feel good about him when Pickett is the Steelers quarterback. So yeah, Peoples-Jones. As far as Hollywood, Waddle, Zay Jones, or Deontay, I mean, it has to be Waddle. If you can only play one of those guys.
Against the Bills with a just slightly banged up Tyreek. Yep, Waddle.
Yeah, it's got. I know Waddle didn't have a good game on Sunday night. I mean, just chalk it up to a bad week. It doesn't matter. It's Waddle. Yeah, it's Waddle. Iron, in case you came in late, John is sick with COVID, so we appreciate him toughing this out and hanging out with us for as long as he feels able to.
I'm on short-term IR.
Yeah, he's right. He's short-term IR. He's out for a minimum of 3 weeks. Yep.
But yeah, I'm all good. And thank you, CXK. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, he's on the mend.
And D1
yeah.
Thanks, too.
There you go. Yeah, hopefully a speedy recovery. As far as the defenses, Dallas gets. Are they on the road in Jacksonville this week? So I don't know if I want to do that, especially after. I mean, I figured they were a great play against Houston. They were not, and now they got to go on the road against Jacksonville against Trevor Lawrence, who is playing lights out right now. New England gets the Raiders. That might be a good one. Denver gets Arizona with Colt McCoy. That one's enticing. And Green Bay gets the Rams. Where is that game? Is that in Green Bay? It is. The Rams will be traveling to probably a very cold Monday night game in
Dallas.
Lambeau. You're going Dallas against Jacksonville?
The unit's been probably the best out of all of these guys.
They were bad against Houston. They didn't give us anything.
Bounce back.
Yeah, I guess it's a bounce back.
The one in a bad matchup. The NFL throws you those outliers sometimes.
Yeah. Green Bay against Baker Mayfield in the cold is kind of interesting.
Who's Green Bay playing?
They're playing the Rams at home on Monday night. It's gonna be cold for those LA boys.
And they give up the second most fantasy points to opposing defenses.
And it's gonna be either Baker Mayfield or John Walford or Bryce Perkins or whatever. And
yeah, I guess that's a solid one.
The Packers are interesting. Dallas is probably the best unit, but I think they're in the worst. Trevor Lawrence is playing great right now. I don't know that I'd be looking at Dallas this week. like they might be slightly more, probably not, but they might be slightly more enticing week 16 at home. I know it's the Eagles, but you know, the home game narrative, division game narrative, they may actually be a little sneakier than I think on the road against Jacksonville, which I think could be a trap game for Dallas.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Looking at the numbers, Jacksonville's giving up the 4th worst fantasy points to opposing defenses with 4.46.
To say it's not a good matchup for your fantasy defense playing Jacksonville. Yeah. I think I'd lean Green Bay. You were out for 10 days too. Oh man, so E11 also just tested negative. Yeah, man. I had it back in May, and probably the first 3 or 4 days I was like, this is awful. Then around day 5 was probably when I finally started to feel better. But I know I had a cough for 10 days. Like I was fine. I felt fine 8-9 days in, but I couldn't shake the cough. It's like the worst cold I've ever gotten. But it's rough.
No 10 gallons or liters of boogers flowing out of your nose. It's weird.
It's rough.
Yeah.
It sucks. Yeah. It will pass. It will pass. Terrell, what's going on, Terrell? Better spot start Burks or Campbell this week? Who are the Colts playing? The Colts are playing the Titans are playing the Chargers.
Colts got Vikings at home.
Vikings
away. Vikings are home. The Colts are away.
The Colts are on the road. Colts are giving up lots of points in the secondary, but I think I would say Burks here. As long as he gets through the injury report okay, as long as he passes through concussion protocol in in a time frame that we feel comfortable with, like, you know, maybe it's Wednesday where he's trending toward being fine, and Thursday he clears concussion protocol, and then he doesn't have an injury designation at the latest by Friday, it would be Treylon Burks. But if any of the news is like still dealing with the concussion symptoms, you know, not cleared out of concussion protocol, then you could pivot to Campbell, but I would tentatively plan to play Treylon Burks.
And Robert, if Dobbins is on the wire, pick him up and use all.
Yeah, you gotta grab him. You gotta grab Dobbins.
Use all
you
your
have
fab.
Use all your fab. Use all your fab. He didn't look very fast running the ball, but the yards were racked up in his first game back after another extended time. I was worried about him coming in. I did not advise starting him on Saturday and Sunday this weekend, and that backfired.
He got caught from behind on that one run.
He did get caught from behind, so he doesn't have
no long speed.
Yeah, the speed appears to have taken a big hit, at least temporarily. That being said, he is the top waiver ad if he's on waivers. No doubt.
Yep.
So whoever the last guy is on your bench, Robert, grab Dobbins. You have Walker. Which is that? Is that Kenneth Walker? And you have Hunter Henry. Which one in the as far as the flex? Well, you could drop Hunter Henry. Like Henry was a 1 week ad for
Dobbins should go in your flex after you pick him up.
Yeah, right. Henry's got a good matchup this week against Vegas, but I mean, I guess it depends on who your other tight end options are. It depends on who your other tight end options are. But yeah, if you add Dobbins, you can play him this week.
And I would probably play Elijah Moore over any of those. Over Hunter Henry
over
too.
Pierre Strong.
Over
Yeah,
Pierre.
what did Moore have? Like 6 for 60?
Yeah, 10 targets.
10 targets.
I'm going back to that.
Yeah, he seems to be emerging or re-emerging, whatever you want to call it. Yep. Yeah, Elijah Moore could also be a sneaky ad for the fantasy playoffs now that Mike White is playing well. So yeah, but Dobbins first. Can you start ETN this week? Damn, I Against Dallas, I guess it doesn't feel very good, does it? It depends on your alternate options. But there's a lot of players I'm probably hoping to play ahead of Travis Etienne right now. He's not getting the targets that we expected this year. Outside of a 3-game stretch where he looked spectacular, it's been slim pickings. I know he picked up an injury a couple of weeks ago, so he might be hampered and hobbled by that. But yeah, depending on your alternative options, you can leave Etienne on your bench.
He just needs to start getting those receptions. He has the role all to himself.
He doesn't have more. It's a scheming issue. He doesn't have more than 5 targets in any one game this year, and he doesn't have more than 3 catches in any game this year. I was saying on, man, I feel bad about this because all on Saturday and Sunday, I was telling folks on the stream, the Titans actually lead the league. The Titans defense leads the league in catches allowed to the running back position. And Etienne didn't even have a target against them. Now, it's hard to knock the Jags because they won the game and they won it going away. So, like, what they're doing is working, but it's coming at the expense of Travis Etienne's skill set, which is kind of baffling. But that's the case. And so it's incredibly difficult to trust him based off of that, because we drafted him with a 3rd-round pick this year with the expectation, whether it was James Robinson pre-trade or any other backup running back, that Etienne was gonna see a workload expected from a guy drafted in the 1st round, and he can catch the ball. We've seen it happen at Clemson at an elite level. He doesn't have more than 3 catches in any one game this year. Sometimes football is weird and stupid, and we can't predict anything. And that is Travis Etienne this year. It's unfortunate. Yeah, I would be looking elsewhere until, at least for now. At least for now. Because I think his matchups coming up are rough. Yeah. He doesn't get a good matchup again until week 17, which is championship week, until Houston. But you might need to get to championship week without being able to rely on Travis Etienne, because not only does he get the Cowboys this week, he gets the Jets on the road next week on a short week. Rough. So, yeah. Let's see. Thoughts on T.Y. Hilton and Burkhead? Burkhead's interesting, Senor. Good to see you. Hilton, I'm not, no. I love T.Y., but no.
I'd rather invest in Cole Beasley than T.Y. Hilton, speaking of aging bets that were just acquired.
Yeah, I mean, this is a move I think has depth for the playoffs. CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Noah Brown looks really good. Obviously, Dalton Schultz is back healthy and in his prime full-time role, plus the running backs and the usage that both of them have been getting the past 4 weeks. This is not Ty, but
go get Burkhead. As long as
Burkhead's interesting, with Pierce out and Benjamin having been released. He won't get all the opportunities. They'll bring somebody else in if it is Royce Freeman or active or elevate from the practice squad or just sign somebody. They'll bring somebody else in. But of those two, it's very easily Burkhead is the guy I'm a little bit more interested in. What's going on, Callie? Good to see you, Callie. Desperate at RB2. As far as Murray or attacking the waiver wire,
I'd go Murray and also try to get my hands on Kevin Harris.
Sure, go Murray. You could try, or because you have Murray, if you want to secure the backfield. Not that this is a backfield I'm eager to lock in, but you could just try to grab Marlon Mack on the super cheap. Burkhead could be a decent spot start this week. Kevin Harris, pending the health of Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, could be solid pending the results of their injuries this week.
Remember last year, Burkhead on a bad Texans team.
He
had a streak of like 100-yard games and with a touchdown. So
yeah.
Actually, I like Burkhead for as long as Pierce is out over Kevin Harris. Because we don't have
and it's a little bit more. It's a little more clear cut as well, right? Like, because Pierce, that's the thing. Pierre Strong, Kevin Harris. Pierre Strong, yeah, five carries, 70 yards. I mean, he ripped off some big plays last night. So you could very easily pick up the wrong Patriots running back this week. You might pick up the right one. You might pick the wrong one. Burkhead is probably the clearest guy as far as expected opportunity. So that's probably the guy you want for week 15.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm playing him yet over Latavius Murray, but that's the guy I would prioritize at least grabbing as far as my alternative option over those other guys.
It's at least a floor ceiling, like differential there.
Yeah. Okay. E11's bench is Patterson, no. Murray, no. Kirk, no. McLaurin, no. Dallas or New England. Who are New England's next few matchups? They get the Raiders, and then they get the Raiders, then the Bengals. I would just drop. New England's been playing pretty well. They had a bad 2-week stretch in weeks 12 and 13, but otherwise that defense has been pretty solid, dating back to like week 4 or 5. Would you just drop Latavius Murray for J.K. Dobbins?
Higher upside running back at the same position, higher upside player. So I think I might.
While still having Patterson on your bench and other who I'm not sure who your clear and obvious starters are, but obviously those are your clear and obvious starters. I think Dobbins, I'll hang on to both of those defenses for now because I don't want to play Dallas this week. You could conceivably drop Dallas and hope that people are shied away from them because of the back-to-back bad matchups. You could do that too. You could rock with New England this week. You could drop Dallas and then go back to the well on them next week. By dropping New England outright. And if you miss on that opportunity, at least you still have, you at least still have New England. Although New England plays the Bengals and the Dolphins weeks 16 and 17, and those are not great matchups.
I think I would rather have Dallas.
Rather have Dallas
for the playoffs,
but not this week.
No.
So drop Latavius Murray for Dobbins. Or shit. Sorry, you on one. The Dobbins. Well, that was for Robert. To pick up Goddard. That's my bad. Sorry about that. I was giving the wrong advice to the wrong person. So to pick up Goddard. Can you pick him up and put him on an IR spot? Can you just add Goddard to an IR spot? That would be my question. Callie, is DJ Moore a drop? I don't really want to drop him. I know he didn't have a great game, but
I think he's also banged up.
He is banged up.
But I'm not dropping him.
I really don't want to drop him. I'd have to be really, really desperate. And my receivers would have to be like Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Stephon Diggs.
And like T. Higgins has to be on the waiver wire. Like, I'm not dropping DJ Moore for anybody.
I don't
just
want to
anybody
do that.
So I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Greg, as far as those options for a wide receiver 2, an RB2, and a flex, for me it would be Terry. Probably Pacheco and I guess Rachaad White. But we'll have to come back to that later in the week. As practice reports develop and all that stuff. But I wouldn't be leaning on ETN. Olave has kind of like not plateaued, but he's kind of like he's come back to earth. That's what I meant to say a little bit recently. It is a great matchup against the Falcons. Yeah. I guess, or you could also do both. You could do Olave, Terry, and Pacheco, and just like ignore the potential headache of starting the wrong Bucks running back. You could do that, like Olave, Terry, and Pacheco, something like that. But I wouldn't be relying on Travis Etienne. Yeah. Jeff Johnson, what's going on, Jeff? Need a wide receiver, running back, and flex out of Waddle, Hollywood, Judy, Saquon, Dobbins, and Rashad White. Well, you're gonna go back to the well with Saquon because you have to.
And I'm going back to the well with Waddle.
I'm going back to the well with Waddle as well. Yep, like those are just horses. Those are anchors. As far as the flex, I would probably go back to Judy if Sutton has to miss another week. What is the status of Sutton? Back to being questionable. Was a hamstring injury. He didn't practice at all, right? This past week. Yeah, I mean, if he's out again, I would go Judy, but if he's back, I would go. If it's standard, I would go Dobbins against Cleveland. If it's half or full PPR, I would go Rashad White. That's what I would do. Dang, Xavier had the vid as well.
Yeah, man.
Rough.
Yeah, I got it.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah, that was my timeline too. Like 4 days, I was down for the count. Yeah, it's rough. Greg, you've got a ton of like quality players on waivers, but unfortunately, there's nobody on your team. I'm not dropping any of those guys. I guess it's a shallow league. I ain't dropping any of those dudes for any of those guys. It's nah. Mm-mm. You have your options. Unfortunately, this appears to be those guys shouldn't be on waivers anywhere, but you don't have the room. You don't have the room to add anybody because you're not dropping any of those guys. As far as a QB to start, the Lions are on the road against the Jets, so Goff's not an option this week. He is an option for home games only. So Goff is out this week. So you're playing Watson because I don't think Lamar's going to play this week. So you're playing Deshaun Watson and hoping for the best. Cleveland gets Baltimore at home this week. Baltimore's not a scary matchup for your offensive fantasy players. This is not the Baltimore Ravens defense of old, especially the secondary. It is not good. So it's Watson of this group. For me, I'm not playing Goff on the road, and I don't think Lamar's going this week. He might, but I'm not relying on it. I'm not counting on it. We'll know later in the week though what his official status is. I would be leaning toward Lamar. I'd be leaning toward Lamar. Yeah, there you go.
Hey, thank you, everyone.
You got a Jazz voice.
And yeah, man, I got so many I got vitamins out. Like, come on, man, like
all over the damn place.
Pharmacy over here, dude.
There you go.
That's
just breakfast. Those two.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, appreciates the kind words.
Yeah,
the nice thoughts. Yeah, you'll be back. It sucks right now, but you bounce back. And we appreciate you at least chilling for now. E11, you gotta get at least one IR spot, man. Everybody. You got to have at least one IR spot. I play in 2 leagues where there's no IR spot, and I'm not the commit. They're lower stakes, so I don't want to it's like, all right, I'm not going to ruffle too many feathers, but if it's a competitive league, it's enough where I care about it, where I'm coming in, I'm asking questions, I'm talking about my team, I'm talking about my line, I'm talking about my roster, I'm trying to figure out what to do. I care about this. Like, I'm invested in this. I'm invested in the results. Fight your commish tooth and nail. Not that you should have to, but this should be easy. You got to add IR spots. Gotta add IR spots. They are necessary. We have
I don't
three.
know how you got through the last 2 seasons without one.
Right.
Actually.
How'd you get through COVID? How'd you get through the COVID season without IR spots? I added IR spots. We originally prior to the
5 in every league.
Prior to COVID, we had one. We had one IR spot because it was standard. It was default. That was it. Nobody really thought about it. COVID hit. Everywhere I was commissioned, I said, yeah, we're adding 4 IR spots. So we're doing 5 total. After COVID, I shrunk it down to 2. And then that was last year. And I said, that's not enough. We're doing 3. I have 3 IR spots in every competitive league. And honestly, if the league all collectively came together and asked for more, I probably wouldn't fight it at all. IR, you gotta. It's just you're doing yourself and your league a solid. You guys, you shouldn't have to randomly suffer the fate of having to make difficult roster decisions based on the guys that get hurt on your lineup. Because all it takes is 1 year for you to be the one that gets decimated by injuries everywhere. Because we all have those seasons where, yeah, we have our underperforming seasons, but then we have our I can't do anything about this season. It's rare, but it happens where it's like 4 of my 6 or 7 best players are like out for the season.
Somebody out there drafted Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp, Kyle Pitts, and Javonte Williams on the 2-3 turn, right?
Darren Waller in the 5th round.
Right, exactly. So somebody out there that happened to somebody. That happened to somebody. The IR spots allow you to at least try to keep your head above water for as long as possible, maybe potentially. Yeah. Gotta have them.
And speaking of rule changes, itty bitty South City, you should not be
in the
second round of the playoffs. It should be first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
You should get that changed too.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. Nobody should have to deal with bye weeks as a result of or during the playoffs. Nobody should be dealing with bye weeks. Don't like it. But you're through. You are through to the second round. So that's what's most important. I would go. I mean, here are the. I guess itty bitty. Who are your streaming options? Because I would naturally say let's go Tua in a bounce back game. Even though it is on the road on a short week, but I don't want to play Goff on the road against a defense that has the rookie of the year in Sauce Gardner, who is shutting down even the best receivers in the league. I don't want to play. I don't want to play Goff on the road this year. Goff has 2 touchdown throws this year. In 5 road games, Jared Goff has 2 touchdowns on the season.
I'm calling Tua.
So Tua, depending on who your waiver wire options are, I know Tua's not in a great matchup either, but like between those 2, it has to be Tua. It has to be. Has to be. Should you claim Jameson Williams? In theory, yeah, but based on those guys in your lineup, there's no room. I guess it depends on your bench. So should you stream another QB? It depends on the options. Should you claim JMO? In theory, yeah, but who can you drop?
I'd be playing Tua and trying to pick up Jameson and dropping somebody.
Yeah.
Let us know who you have to drop.
It was cool to see JMO get that touchdown catch. First catch of his career. It was busted coverage for sure. It was a broken play by the Vikings, but it still happened. It's not JMO's fault that the Vikings got lost. He made the catch, came through. Nice to see. First of hopefully a lot more. What's happening, Crumply Heads? Driscoll, is that like Jeff Driscoll?
Yeah.
Who has tight end eligibility? Yeah, Jeff Driscoll, the Houston Texans guy. What the hell's that all about?
They're gonna change that in a few days.
Yeah.
He's not a tight end.
Jeff Taysom Hill Driscoll. Jeff Hillskull. I'll stop. I'm done. And we are doing members on Thursday. Well, as long as John's feeling up to it, obviously COVID can take.
I mean, it might.
It might be me. Might be. I can do my box score. I can do my box score breakdowns, and John can chill.
No, man. I'll be here to answer questions. It just might not be the most enthusiastic stream out there.
Right. Yeah. Get your rest and all that stuff, and hopefully you're feeling better for it. But obviously, COVID
take
takes
all those vitamins that iron
days.
for me.
Yep. But yes, we will be here for the members. We did commit to for the fantasy playoffs. We are both gonna just be available for the members for the Thursday streams. Thought that those would be a little bit more engaging for the members. And you can, you get an extra stream with both being able to bounce ideas off of both of us at the same time. So you can get both of our thoughts on something. Again, heading into the new default fantasy playoff weeks. And then week one week one of the playoffs is for most leagues this week. So so the Wednesday streams, we're going to put the kibosh on that for the season. The Thursday streams, we will both be available for the members. If you're not a member and interested, we do an extra stream on Thursdays for the remainder of the regular season. Well, now that it's the fantasy playoffs, for the fantasy playoffs, you can catch us there if you want to get an extra stream. So, we'll be there on Thursday. What's going on, Theo? Good to see you, man. You're going to have 3 of the top 6 picks in 2023. That's a nice haul. That's a nice collection. And then you're probably getting 11 and 12. Nicely done. To try to move up. I mean, do you want to move up to 1?
It's
going to cost it.
Yet.
Don't do it yet.
Change. I mean, look at where rankings were last year around this time versus 3 months from where they stood last year around this time. A lot could change. So if you're dead set on somebody who you think you can get at 101, I mean, they could be available at 103 to you without you having to give anything up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, but if you want Bijan, it's gonna cost, I don't know, 3 and 6. It's gonna be, if you're trying to move up to 1. I don't know if 11 and 12 get it done. Maybe 3 get it. If you do like 6, 11, and 12, that might be a talking point. But yeah, it's gonna be.
No, I think honestly, in a 1 QB, it's 3 and 5, and maybe a second.
Yeah, because Bijan is pretty,
and people will ask for them if you have them.
Right. So right now, just hold and hope that once we get away from the season. You just hope that the value of that pick goes down, even though it's not super likely. But you never know. So you're gonna have to pay out. I mean, even in Superflex, it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be. In
Superflex, I wouldn't advise making that move.
Yeah, you should be able to get some viable. You're gonna at 3. You're gonna get. Whoever falls between Young, Stroud, and Bijan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good spot to be in. 3 is actually is a pretty good pick this year, most likely. Unless you don't believe in Bryce Young for the various intangibles that the draft pundits are starting to bring up.
But then you can swerve, do a different position, and then pick up, Hendon Hooker or Will Levis with 5 and 6 or 11 and 12, So
Richardson.
I don't make any moves right now.
Yep, just chill with what you got. What's up, Tommy? If Higgins doesn't play, do you start DPJ, Adam Thielen, and you need a flex? So DPJ's been on a heater since Deshaun Watson returned, and they get the very gettable, the very beatable Baltimore Ravens this week. I think that's who you want to go with if Higgins can't go. But only if Higgins can't go. You have to start T. Higgins over those other 2 guys if he's off the injury report. We have to see how that progresses, though, this week. And between these flex options, Dillon, White, Dobbins, I would probably say in full PPR, if Higgins plays, then yeah, flex DPJ. But if Higgins can't go, and we got to keep an eye on injury reports and all that good stuff. But any one of those 3 running backs would probably be viable. White in full PPR is probably most appealing. Dobbins in a great spot against Cleveland is appealing, and Dillon has had a couple of decent weeks in a row prior to the bye week, and against the Rams at home, there's a decent chance he gets the usage that we were hoping and expecting for all season long. I'd probably put him 3rd, but I would say he's also in a decent spot this week as well. But I would go DPJ in the flex if Higgins is in. Itty bitty as far as Russ or Mike White. Russ was a top 5 quarterback for fantasy this week, believe it or not. If Russ, well, again, Russ is in concussion. Actually, Russ is in concussion protocol. He probably has to miss.
I'm going back to Mike White.
Wilson. I would, against the Lions. Yeah, I would play Mike White at home. You can drop Goff. Because he's on the road, and you can pick up Mike White.
Yep.
You can drop Goff and pick up and start Mike White. That's what I would do.
And Crumply Heads, I'm gonna try.
Yep.
I'll be around.
He's working on it. But yeah, appreciate it.
And E111, I mean, the champion. You're gonna get the championship soon. You've been close.
Yeah, that's all right. You're right there. If you're cool, I mean, look, maybe I'm just projecting. If you're cool with the rules and the league setup, then fine. That's totally fine. But I would be advocating for IR spots. But I do like the wrinkles that you have in that league. It changes the strategy a little bit, and having to pay for transactions. I know that's a thing in competitive leagues. You pay actual dollars for transactions. It's pretty cool little side thing you got going on. Tommy also needs a flex and a running back. I would go Foreman at home.
I think Juju and ETN is who I'd go with.
I think I'd go Foreman and Juju. I just ETN's hard to trust right now.
Last week, I think Hubbard's gonna be eating more into Foreman's workload more and more.
Yeah, Foreman
got
it
all to himself.
Ah, man, but he's not doing anything with it. Not recently, anyway, and it's a bad matchup. I mean, Foreman still got 21 carries. He wasn't able to fall forward into the end zone when he got several goal line opportunities. I'm not. This isn't to say that Chuba isn't viable, but I think Foreman is fine. Like, he still got 21 carries, and I think he had a target, so he had 22 overall opportunities. He did. He had and he caught it. It was only for 1 yard, but he caught it. 2.5 times more valuable than a carry. So yeah, I'm fine with Foreman over ETN. I think both of those guys are viable at home, to be honest, and I'm fine with Foreman at home against ETN, who he just hasn't been firing the way that we thought he would, especially after they've just traded James Robinson and waived Darrell Henderson. Like, hell yeah, he's got the backfield to himself, but it's not been materializing. And again, no game with more than 5 targets. Like, what are you doing?
He did
Throw
run
him the
a
ball
route
10
last
times.
week on 57% of dropbacks.
He did or did not?
Yeah, 57.1% rate for routes run.
Okay, so he's out there running routes, but he's not getting the targets for whatever reason.
Right.
And that last week wasn't an outlier. Again, only one 5-target game, no game with more than 3 catches. 2 5-target games. Okay.
Week 5 and week 7.
Okay, but hasn't caught more than 3 in any one game. Like what's going on? What's that all about? So I have a hard time trusting him right now. But I agree with Juju. I'll take Juju. I'll take Foreman and Juju.
So we're split there. You're gonna have to go with your gut, man.
Yep. What's going on, Hunter? Good to see you. Do you start Juju, Christian Watson, or Mike Williams? I mean, I think it has to be Mike Will. Yeah. I think it's got to be Mike Williams. I mean, he could be a little all or nothing, but he came back and popped in his first game back. I was also a little worried about him too with the first game back narrative that backfired for me double this week. But now that he's back, showed he's healthy, got through the game unscathed with no issues, and delivered a big performance in his first game back. I think you by nature of the beast, you have to feel better about him. You have to feel confident about Mike Williams. And they're at home against the Titans, who are the most gettable secondary in the NFL. It's Mike Will. I want to find a way to play Christian Watson. I do, but I got to give the respect to Mike Williams this week.
Yeah.
I got to. Yep.
And thanks, Senor Rojo. Appreciate it.
There you go. Everybody's trying to chip in and help out. You love to see it. Callie, you're worried about Carlson? He did great on Thursday night against the Rams. I think he remains relevant because I think the Raiders' offense is good enough to move the ball down the field. And if you don't believe in Carr, that's all the more reason to believe in the kicker. Because again, the Raiders have 2 things going for them. It's Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams. And those guys are high-end elite players at their respective positions and are good enough to at least help the Raiders stay on the field. If Carr is not good enough to finish drives in the end zone, then Carlson is going to remain fine. He's going to remain effective. And especially in games at home, like this week, I want to fire him up against a good defense against the Patriots. It's fine to fire up kickers against good defenses if you believe the narrative that the offense is more likely to stall out against them. And at home, yeah, I think you're fine with Carlson. We're taking kickers 1 week at a time. But, I mean, his past 4 games, 12, 11, 10, 14 points. Now, week 17 against San Francisco, yeah, you might want to look elsewhere. But for at least this week, I'm going back to Carlson. It's not like he had a bad game. The Raiders had a bad game, but he didn't. No, we're going back to the well with Carlson. How do I feel about Dylan, Danzel? I don't know what to make of Dylan because he's been a very frustrating enigma this year. He popped off week 1, and then he went into hibernation for 11 weeks. Was giving you absolutely nothing to work with. He did face a very difficult slate of matchups this year, like an abnormal number of bad matchups, bottom of the league matchups from weeks 3 to weeks 11. He didn't face a run defense softer than. He played the Giants week 5. That was in London when they were playing well. Like, he hasn't faced a bottom 10 run defense or even a middle of the pack run defense since he did well against the Eagles on Sunday night a couple weeks ago. That was his first favorable matchup of the year. That being said, players should be able to come through at least every now and then in a bad matchup, and he didn't do that this year. This week against the Rams, it's a tough matchup by the numbers, but Aaron Donald is not going to play, and at least the Packers are at home. He is he is a high-end RB3 with some upside if Aaron Jones is still dealing with a shin injury or the couple of injuries that he has accumulated over the course of the season. If Aaron Jones is on the injury report this week, and it's possible that we're looking at a split backfield because of Aaron Jones's availability, which we don't know yet, then sure, Dylan might be a little bit more viable. But right now, he's a high-end RB3. It's hard to he looked good in the past couple of weeks, but it's hard to advocate for him. It's hard to advocate for him. Those defenses, Callie, I mean, the Panthers should be fine at home against Mitchell Trubisky. The Broncos in theory, should be fine at home against Colt McCoy. I would actually think that they're probably a decent team to take a chance on with a backup quarterback. The Saints are against Desmond Ridder, so they're interesting, but their season is like, I mean, I guess the Broncos season is bad too. The Saints haven't been the same.
You don't want them in week 16 and week 17.
Against the Eagles week 17.
Yeah, you're looking at beyond. You don't want that squad.
Yeah. The Lions against the Jets, I'm not doing that. And the Giants against Washington, I'm not doing that because the Giants' run defense is a mess right now. It's either the Panthers or the Broncos for me. And I guess I tend to lean on teams that are more likely to be playing for something, and that's Carolina. But the Broncos probably have the best overall unit of this group.
And week 15 against the Cardinals, led by Colt McCoy, that's fine. For week 15 and 16, I'm fine with the Broncos. For week 17, you'll want to swerve. They got the Chiefs. But
yeah, you don't want to play them there. But for this week, the Broncos should be fine.
Yep. And next week.
Yeah. Tommy, as far as Superflex leagues, if this was a one quarterback league and guys, people were rostering 2-3 quarterbacks, I would hate that. But man, teams are gonna. I carry 5 quarterbacks in a Superflex league. I'm definitely hoarding. You got to be ready to load up on quarterbacks. So I hear your frustration, but yeah, that's not surprising. I would not be relying on Russ this week in concussion protocol. He's probably not going to play. I would probably pick up Ripien because Colt McCoy's in a really bad matchup against the Broncos. Colt McCoy has the better weapons and is maybe a little bit more of a commodity, but the Broncos defense is rock solid. And at home, I would be worried about Colt McCoy. I would probably actually play Ripien. I feel worse about it in a vacuum. My desperation play would be Colt McCoy, but I don't like his situation this week. I think I would go Ripien if I had to.
And Greg, I'm playing Rodgers and Tannehill over Carr and Daniel Jones.
Yup. Yes. Yeah, definitely over Daniel Jones. They're just better quarterbacks. They're just better players. Yeah, take your pick. Either one should be fine. Yeah. Let's see. Well, who we got? This was to potentially drop or to pick up Goddard, right? McLaurin Kirkmall. Yeah, okay.
I think I'd stay pat, man.
I think you gotta. Yeah. I think you gotta stick with what you have. Because I don't want to play Dallas this week, but I do want to play New England. After New England plays Vegas this week, then you can drop New England for something.
And Dulcich is a good play for this week because he plays Arizona. But I don't know if I want to be playing with Dulcich
drop Fryer
in week 16 and 17.
Yeah, you'd have to drop Freiermuth for that because you're not dropping any of those receivers. You're not dropping any of those running backs.
I'm staying pat.
Yeah, I think you just stay put, E11. I think you just stay put. I mean, you got anchor wide receivers. You have a stud quarterback. You have solid options at running back. Maybe not spectacular ones, but you have solid options at running back.
Your team is good. If you want to spot start one of these guys over Freiermuth, that'd be the only.
I guess the thing that's kind of hurting you is if it's one quarterback, you have both Hurts and Mahomes. Like, that's hurting you right now. And I assume the trade deadline is over. Because you don't want to give Mahomes to the rest of the league, but you have no use for him.
Yeah.
You can't drop him because you're gonna make somebody else way better.
But you can't drop him. Yeah, so you're just kind of stuck.
That second quarterback is kind of handcuffing you right now in a one quarterback league.
Yep.
That's kind of handcuffing you right now. That's the thing. But all this to say, just stay put. I would just stay pat. It's a good squad. But yeah, I would just stay pat. Greg, as far as Everett, Ingram, or Kmet, I mean, Ingram had the anomaly game of anomaly games.
I'm going Kmet. No Darnell Mooney. Justin
Mooney's
Fields
out
is
for the year.
Everett continues to have the role and do nothing with it. Kmet
he was
I'm going Kmet.
Everett had 5 catches for 28 yards. How does he have? Oh, this is in full PPR. Yeah, 5 catches for 28 yards. So not spectacular. Yeah, Kmet is fine. And it's a good matchup by the numbers. Or no, it's not. Sorry, Everett's matchup is good by the numbers. Kmet gets the Eagles this week. That is the only thing. Kmet gets the Eagles.
But he should be their number one target.
He should be their number one target. So, yeah, it's tough. Tough spot. Yeah, I would just say, well, next time. I mean, I don't know what the draft looked like, or if you just wanted to, or maybe Hurts was a big discount relative to draft capital, and you couldn't pass him up. I always punt at the QB position in one quarterback, and just to avoid a headache like this. You know what I mean? Because it's very hard to trade quarterbacks in one quarterback because it's very easy to stream them. Teams by nature, even if they could really use a good quarterback, in one quarterback, teams are going to be hesitant to pull the trigger on those trades, and it's hard to get good value. So, yeah, it's kind of where we're at. We are at the end of the chat. We do usually go for at least 2 hours solidly. With John sick and ailing a little bit, we might call this one a little early today. I'm obviously happy to continue taking questions if any pop up. And of course, if any questions come up later that you don't think of but want to ask us, you know that the Discord is open 24/7. I might not get to it immediately, but we have a community there, great group of people to bounce ideas and thoughts off of, and suggestions and strategy and all that good stuff. They can help out in there. We will be available for the members on Thursday ahead of the game between the 49ers and the Seahawks. And then tentatively, we are going to have to tweak our Saturday schedule. So be on the lookout for a specific time for a start-sit stream this weekend, because there are 3 games on this Saturday, and we don't want to conflict with everybody watching the games while we're attempting to stream. So be on the lookout for what we decide to confirm doing there this weekend. You guys will know. You guys will know as soon as possible through the community tab. And yes, Greg, we did ultimately decide Kmet over Everett. Kmet at least is Justin Fields' top option this week in the passing game with Darnell Mooney out for the season. And Danzel, I think I would probably go back to
Carr.
Probably go back to Carr, even though I don't feel great about it. Purdy is on the injury report with an oblique injury. Sounds like he's going to play through it. But let's see how he does on the road on a short week before we go back to the well with him. At least Carr is at home and on 10 days rest, having played on Thursday night. I know you probably don't feel great about it, but I would go Carr. Chris, what's going on?
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate the kind words. Just at the end of the chat here, Chris, you have Higgins, Olave. You got some good wide receivers here. If you still have options to make trades, I mean, first of all, I respect the different league settings, but I would not look to trade Higgins. I would not look to trade Higgins.
I'd be trying to trade Judy.
Yeah, you could try to sell high on Judy, although with Sutton likely coming back, you may not get what you're hoping for. I personally don't have a problem with just keeping Judy for depth. And he may remain viable in the event that Ayuk kind of fades because of Purdy. He scored a touchdown, so maybe that's not the case.
The next few weeks means Ayuk's gonna get peppered with targets. So
more usage for Ayuk.
Yeah.
No, I would stay put, Chris. I don't want to trade Higgins. I know I'm sure a lot of people are slighted by what happened. I certainly am. I think the Bengals should be fined heavily for what they did and how they handled that situation. But T. Higgins is a wide receiver 1 when he's on the field. You're not going to get comparable value, especially while he's hurt. You're going to be selling him kind of on the lower side because he's hurt. Don't settle for what you would have to settle for less than what Higgins is truly worth. I would not do that. I would hold Higgins. I would hold all those receivers because they all have value right now. And I'm not worried about Judy with Sutton coming back. Judy's not going to have 3 touchdown games, but I do think he absolutely can continue to operate as the Broncos wide receiver 1. John, you may feel differently about that, but I would stay put with what you have ultimately for the playoffs. If you can sell high on Judy, if you can get a clearly markedly better receiver, then sure.
I'm not even saying markedly better wide receiver. I'm just saying cut your losses and get out before Sutton comes back and Judy turns into 6 points a week.
Judy's been good with Sutton in the lineup. But you can get him. You can get a really good, if you can get a really good, better player than off of the hype, then sure. Otherwise, I think I would just stay put. And I would probably just keep all those guys, honestly. Again, at the end of the chat, John's got some resting to do, so we're probably going to call this a little early. Again, one more time, the Discord is an evergreen invite. Second link in the description of this video if you're not already in there. I know a lot of you guys already are, and you utilize it, which is great. If not, cool, awesome community building over there, and you can keep the fancy conversation going and, of course, ask questions as they come up for you. And then that way you have a little bit more access to us. If you are interested in what you see from this channel, we're hoping to increase the daily videos again in the off season once work kind of settles down for the both of us, having both switched into new roles. We do offer memberships. First link in the description of this video will give you some details about different options and perks that come with being a member of the channel. If you feel so inclined, and that for everybody includes an additional stream, which will be on Thursdays ahead of the Thursday Night Football matchup. But that's going to do it for us. We will see the members on Thursday. Otherwise, stay tuned. We will make sure to have the community tab of our page updated with details of our weekend streams this week with NFL games taking place on both Saturday and Sunday. Everybody have a good night. Hopefully your waiver claims are successful. And we'll continue to talk to you guys and with you guys as the fantasy playoffs begin. Everybody have a good week.